Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we are continuing our series of tutorials on current tournaments in Elvenar. And yeah, I already mentioned it that, there could be changes coming up, but who knows when and in which shape and form they're gonna come to life. And in the meantime, we are still playing our existing tournaments, and that might still be a reasonable thing to do even in the future, because the matchup may or may not stay the same. So, those who have seen the previous episodes in this tutorial series already know what the deal is, but I'll briefly reiterate for people who are just starting right now. I'm running through 50 provinces of 2-star stage in the tournament, making a breaks after 20, 30, 40 and 50 provinces just to count how many losses do they have. And quickly discuss matchups, losses, which units are good, which units are not so good, where the caveats are, and so on and so forth. Now, that's the chapter 16, well, end of game city right now, what we are playing. So we have all the units, we don't have any shortages there, so that's not an issue. The important part there would be boosts and Ancient Wonder levels. So what I have right now out there is, well, let's start with Ancient Wonders. Again, that's similar setup to last time. I did an extra level of Martial Monastery. So now it is at level 24, which is a tad shy of extra 25% health boost. Very useful. I also have not pretty much all of 5 damage boosting Ancient Wonders. And they're all levels 11 to 12, so that means between 18 and 19 extra damage for each unit type. So these are permanent boosts. And for temporary boosts, I have Evolution level 10 Fire Phoenix, which is fed, so that's extra 50% damage for all the units. I also have right now 3 temporary military boosters, and that's Unleashed Unit Upgrade, that's extra 25% health boost, as well as Enlightened Light Range, that's 50% extra damage to light range unit or full light range units, and Magnificent Mage Multiplier, so that's plus 50% damage for our mage units. So fairly balanced lineup in terms of the boosts. That's how I like to play, because that works well for Spire, which is fairly random. And that would work well for this tournament. We'll make a good use of all these boosts. This is a fairly difficult tournament. It's, at least at that stage of the game, maybe not as tough in terms of the losses as, let's say, Scrolls. I think at one point in time, actually, Magic Dust tournament that we are playing today used to be actually my hardest one, as in like the heaviest losses, actually more so than the Scrolls, but not anymore. But another thing similar to Scrolls and very dissimilar to the previous Elixir tournament is that we'll have a wider variety of matchups here and more different troops. Again, similar to Scrolls, but not like in the previous tournament, and have a range, and then we just pick which one, and mostly golems. All right, so with that, so let's jump in and we'll talk a little bit about units and most common matchups, and then we'll keep going. Did I forget anything? Maybe. All right, so province number 1. All right, okay, well, that's the easy matchup. And again, just to reiterate, that I repeat every time, that the first 9 provinces, sorry, are not exactly representative, so I tend to skimp on commentary there, because some of the matchups will not be repeated after province number 10. Starting from province number 10, All matchups are basically taken from the same pool, so that's important to, if you're going deep, to know what they are and what to do about them. For the first 10, for the first 9, maybe not. Some of them are the same, some of them will never repeat again, so who cares? Okay, so this matchup, pure mage, not the most common, but actually does happen later on, and that's where we're going to use our Forest Wardens. That's a 3-star mercenary camp light range unit, and in fact Forest Wardens is the most common unit that I'm going to be using in this tournament. So let's take a look why. So Forest Wardens are mage hunter specialists, so they are excellent against mages. They have plus 90% damage boost, and 90%, that's 10 times damage reduction taken from mage units. Add to that they're ranged, that they have highest initiative pretty much out there, certainly more than the opponent mages. And yeah, mages are not going to have a good time versus Forest Warden. That's one of the killer units. Basically, if you have a pure matchup, as in, like right now we have only mages on the other side, if we field Forest Wardens, we will literally have 0 or as close as it gets to losses. And that will stay with us no matter the star rating of the province or the number of the province. That's just, yeah, perfect matchup. But we'll, okay, let's talk about this right now. So, like, yeah, the mage unit, anything mage related, Forest Warden is your unit. They're also good, well, less good, but still okay against heavy melee, but we're actually not going to have heavy melee units in this tournament, so yeah, we don't need to talk about this. Alright, so 5, yeah, but I mean, not surprisingly, in the first province we have no losses, but that's actually representative. Alright, so again, that's one of the matchups that will show up later on. This is one of the sketchiest matchups in this tournament. So okay, let's let's deconstruct it a little bit. Alright, so here, and again, as I mentioned, like I consider my light range, or Forest Wardens in particular units, to be primary units in this tournament. So from that perspective, I'm fine. Obviously, I'm fine with mages against me because the Forest Warden is going to eat them for breakfast. I'm okay in most cases when there are light range units, because light range versus light range, with me having health boosts, damage boosts, that's a pretty good matchup. Range versus range, that's not really a big issue. Not ideal, but certainly works very well. Now, the thing about this tournament, the counter units to our Forest Wardens in these matchups, as you can see, would be those guys, and that's heavy ranged unit, and in particular Stainlings. So I'll probably take another look at them once we get to 3-star units, but regardless, the idea is the same. Unlike in the previous tournament, when our counter unit was terrible against our primary unit, even though it's supposed to be good, that's actually not the case here. Stainlings are good against light ranged and actually pretty good. Again, we can take a look later, but they have extra damage, they have damage reduction, and they also range. So range versus range with pretty good bonuses against our Forest Wardens. These guys are trouble. So we can't do the same thing as we did in some previous matchups. Then we could do let's go with 2-3 counter units and still field our primary unit. Here with 1 counter unit, that's still okay. But here, as you can see, we have 2 counter units to our light range, which are actually good. Then we have 2 light range units, which are kind of like It's not 50-50, but it's not ideal, and we only have one mage. So here, well, we will win with the Forest Wardens, even later on, with 3-star units. We're gonna have significant losses here, or at least noticeable. So, what our alternatives are in terms of the units? Alright, so light melee. And in theory, if you look at this tournament without well, what I said before, so 2 primary units here in terms of your opponents are exactly what you can see here, and that's mages and light range. So that's the units that our light melee is supposed to be good against both of them. However, as you will notice, I am not going to be using light melee a lot when you have both of these and not much anything else, because, well, in this case we will be fielding melee against mages and light range, and even though they're not bad, theoretically, in practice, that's not a great matchup. We're going to have heavy losses there regardless. It's just melee versus range at least, not to mention these are not boosted additionally, and so on and so forth, making the light range units actually here, even though they're good only against one of the primary units, primary opponents here, and only kind of comparable against the other, light range is much better in general. But in this matchup, again, we have 2 counter units, we have 2 comparables, light range is not good. Our options here is light melee. Which light melee? Okay, I generally don't use sword acrobats except in a few cases. So here we will be going either Cerberus, and that's where we have mostly mages, and 1, I think, maybe 2 light range. Then Cerberus is going to be our unit. This matchup, then we have a little bit more light range. I'm going to be going with drone riders, actually. Again, that's not very conventional, but I like it. They do actually reasonably well, all things considering. The losses are still going to be noticeable, but overall they actually do, I noticed, the best given the boosts and the stage of the development in these particular matchups. We're not gonna have a lot of them, which is good, but when we do have them, like now, then we'll go drone riders. And again, I'll just briefly show, yeah, they're good against light range. Not ideal, but they have extra damage. They don't have as much damage reduction, but again, we kind of went through that in the Scrolls tournament. That's for the same reason. For more light range opponents, I'm going with drone riders in this case. And another reason going light melee, again, if we go back to our counter units here, look, while they in theory are also good against light melee, but look at that, they're opposite of specialists there. And again, we'll look at 3 stars later, but while they have extra damage, they don't really have damage reduction. So, which again, for range units, that's neither here nor there, but basically they're much better against light range than they're going to be against our light melee. Our light melee is going to do well against those. Alright, so drone riders it is. So that's the matchup for drone riders. And again, like as you can see, we're already having losses even at 1 star. And we'll continue going to have losses in this matchup, but these are actually not too bad considering the alternatives. Okay, so that's one of the more common matchups, and you see if we consider light range our primary unit, we don't have any counter units here. We have 3 mages which are weak, and we have 1 comparable, and that's our Forest Warden setup. In general, here, with one exception, if I see 1 or less counter units for Forest Wardens, I go Forest Wardens. And here we don't have any counter units for them, so Forest Wardens, and as you can see, they do very well here. Alright, so which Okay, that's another one of the matchups where I said it's sketchy. We have 2 counter units here to our primary, so we are not going to be using them, and we'll go drone riders again. Again, not very common, but hey, in this case we actually used them twice. But as you will see, that's certainly not representative. All right. Okay, so again, that's going to be our drone riders. I don't think that's the matchup that's going to repeat, but well, you will see soon. Now there's one other unit. Okay, so again, we see no counter units to our light range, so Forest Wardens. Yep, and as you can see, they do very well in those matchups. Okay, that's a matchup that is not going to repeat, but something similar is going to pop up, and that's where another unit what we're going to use here, and that's Banshees. So when you have mostly heavy ranged, and we'll have a few matchups like that, well, we already showed them, so as you know, Banshees are really good against heavy ranged. Check that out, plus 90% damage boost, and 80%, or basically 5 times damage reduction from them. They do very well. Unfortunately, we more often than not have not the pure matchup in terms of the heavy range. We have something else there, like other mages and whatnot, but still that would be our unit of choice, so we will be using them. Yeah, see, in this case, that's easy button. Alright, that's actually more common setup when you have quite a few heavy range, when you have one or so mage unit, and then you may have 1 or 2 light range, I believe, yeah. Still Banshees, but because, yeah, we only have 1 counter unit for them here. But usually those matchups, yeah, we take some more losses, and again, in the regular matchups we're gonna take some more. But that's still kind of the better option considering the alternatives. Okay, yep. Again, that's, as I mentioned, that's one of the more common lineups here in this tournament. So we have a lot of mages, a little bit, like 1, maybe 2 light range, and 1 or less counter units, and that would be our Forest Warden matchup. And by far, that's going to be our most used unit here. Alright, again, 1 counter unit, Forest Wardens. And you see, like, we are still kind of, because Stainlings are actually pretty good against light range. Even with all those boosts and initiative and damage reductions and whatnot, we're still taking about, well, maybe slightly less than 10% of losses, and that's not even province 10 plus. So okay, so that's one of the exceptions to the rule what I just said. So on one hand, what you see here is basically we have only 1 counter unit to our light range, but because there are so few stacks here, only 3, that means actually each one of them is relatively large. That means the Stainlings here represent actually quite significant proportion of enemy troops, and that means actually our Forest Wardens, sorry, are not going to be as great as they could have been. So I find that in this particular matchup, I actually am better off going with the Cerberus. Cerberus are good against mages. Again, the big problem with Cerberus, of course, is that they're a melee unit, but they have a good movement speed. They are okay against archers, even though they're not amazing. And again, as I mentioned, while they are not definitely a specialist against Stainlings are actually pretty bad against light melee, so that's pretty much the reason to go with those guys. And again, going with any light melee for what matters, we're gonna have losses. and more than you have seen right now, but still better than going with Forest Wardens. So this one is a Forest Warden matchup. Yep, still about 10% or so, maybe a bit less. Alright, so I think we've seen pretty much all the units that we normally use. So basically in this tournament, literally, especially after province number 10, that's the 4 units that I will be using here, and that's obviously Forest Wardens. Then I'm going to be using Banshees for the heavy range, against heavy range, then Cerberus and Drone Riders. So that's the 4 that are going to be our core. So yeah, that's going to be a Forest Warden, no counter units for them. They're going to do very well here. Yeah, you see, as soon as there are no Stainlings, they do very well there. Even though some of the units there were sort of comparable, again, light range versus light range. Again, that's the 2 counter units for light range, so that's what we are going with Cerberus here. Yeah, no, that's not too bad. Another thing with, like, anyone who used light melee or melee in general knows, highly situational depending on the terrain. On average, I noticed that they do better than Forest Wardens in these 2 counter unit matchups, but sometimes you get this crappy terrain and you'll get significantly higher losses than usual. It doesn't usually happen with Forest Warding, they're more consistent because they're ranged unit. Okay, so that's another matchup that is going to repeat, and that's when we're going Banshees again. There are no counter units for Banshees here, 1 weak unit and 1 comparable, so... And we have it boosted, so that's... yeah, they do pretty well here. Alright, again, I don't think that's going to repeat in this shape and form, and that's where we go Drone Riders, because we have more light range than mages here. Well, they did kind of okay for the melee units. Alright. Okay, no counter units to light range, Forest Wardens. Yep, no losses. Okay, again, 1 counter unit to Forest Wardens. We still go with Forest Warden, and you see, even just with 1 Stainlings there, and that I don't think that was even, yeah, that was even 2-star, not 3-star, and 2, where it was 2 light range and 2 mages. We already lost 20% in Forest Wardens with all these boosts and whatnot. So again, not necessarily very common, but that does happen. And that's another Forest Warden matchup. Even though here you can go Cerberus, they will do okay. Yeah, you see, pretty consistent. The thing is, like, at that point in time, yeah, that's where we go with Cerberus, because there are 2 counter units to light range. Here it's kind of on the knife's edge. Yeah, that went kind of okay, pretty well. Depending if you have a little bit more boost, a little bit... oh, actually missed 1 province here. Depending if you have more boost or less boost, damage boost, I mean, in certain units due to Ancient Wanderers or due to ELR, let's say, this matchup can go either way. So some of them, yeah, that's a perfect matchup for Forest Wardens. I don't think we're gonna have, yeah, no losses. You will have, and that's a Drone Rider matchup, more light range and 2 counter units. Yeah, that's okay. And only 1 counter unit and all mages, so that's again Forest Wardens. Yeah, let's say, for instance, if I have an extra ELR fielded, then a lot of the matchups that were kind of marginal, or where I would go Cerberus right now, might actually turn out to be better with Forest Wardens because of the extra boosts. The ranged units, especially Forest Wardens, definitely benefit a lot from extra damage because they usually go first. At the same time, if you have, for whatever reason, higher Ancient Wanderer boosts for light melee, well, you may have more matchups where you will prefer going Cerberus or even Drone Riders versus Forest Wardens. So there's that. You may want to experiment a little bit with that. Okay, so that's one of the common matchups here. That's gonna repeat. Not great, because here we'll go with Banshees, because we have 3 Stainlings there. 2 Mages, where we are kind of comparable outside of boosts, and we still have 2 Light Range, so that's not great matchup. And let's just take a look quickly at the Stainlings, 3 stars. Look at those guys. Against Light Range, they have 70% damage increase and 40% damage reduction. So they do really well against... I mean, that's not exactly completely destroying this matchup, but yeah, especially if you have 2 of them, your Light Range is not in great shape there. But for Light Melee, they only have 50% damage increase and no damage reduction. So if you get something like Cerberus against them, who can close the gap quickly, assuming the terrain is cooperating, they can just maul the Stainlings very quickly, well, relatively speaking, so there's that. Okay, so here we go with our Banshees, and yeah, you can see that's not great matchup, but no good options there. Okay, only 1 counter unit for the Wardens. That's what we go again. Oh, kind of 10%. Okay, pure Mage. That's Warden. We want more of these matchups, as you can see. No losses. And again, 1 counter unit. The rest is all Mages. Forest Wardens. You see, even then, we have only Mages which are basically relevant against Forest Wardens, and just 1 Stainlings at 3 stars. And look, we still lost almost, well, maybe slightly less than 10%, but noticeable numbers. So yeah, that's why this tournament is not the easiest. And of course, things are even worse if you don't have Forest Wardens. Okay, again, that's where we go with Cerberus, because 2 Stainlings are out there. Yep, that's kind of what you would expect from this matchup. Okay, again, you can go Banshees here, but usually I go with Forest Wardens here. With 1 counter unit, it's okay, and yeah, you see it's probably comparable to going with Banshees there. Alright, Cerberus it is. 2 counter units. Yeah, and you see, like, that's... even though that's probably our best matchup here, in terms of what we can go against, the losses are noticeable. That's Banshee matchup, no counter units there. Again, 20% loss right there. That's fairly representative as well. Okay, so here's province number 9. Okay, 1 counter unit for Wardens. Yep, very consistent there. Okay, so that's one of the infrequent Drone Rider matchups. Yep, you can see 20 and a little bit, maybe 25% or so loss. Again, fairly representative. Okay, so no counter units for the Wardens. That's going to be good. Yep, almost no losses. Yep, that's our Banshee matchup. That's going to be slightly better because we only have 1 light range here against us, versus 2. And yeah, that went better. Alright, so we are done with 9 provinces. So from now on, starting from province number 10, our matchups are going to be the same from 10 and until forever, basically. Okay, so that's Banshees again, 3 Stainlings and some Mages. Yep. Okay, no country units for the Wardens. That means Wardens. And very consistent losses we have in this matchup. Again, one staining. Yep. About 10% of worst Wardens we are losing. Okay, that's, yeah, another matchup. It's not frequent, but that's gonna be a recurring one. You have basically a couple of options here. You can go, and I normally go with benches still, despite two wild archers here, and they're gonna do alright. You can go with a heavy range. There are no counter units there, which is good, but at the same time there are 4 comparables and only 2 they're good against, so either golems in this case or orc strategists. I find that I just go with benches here. Like, regardless what you do, again, that's here we were kind of lucky. Normally the losses, or at least in the later stages, the losses are going to be higher than that in this matchup, but it's not very frequent at all. Alright, so what do we have? Okay, so just one counter unit. Forest Wardens. Yep, you see we are starting to cross this 10% boundary sometimes. And here we have 2 stainlings, so we'll go with Cerberus. Yep, kinda similar. And again, I mentioned that's a little bit of an exception, but that's where I normally go with Cerberus here. I find that on average they do better. Yeah, I see that's in this case they did pretty well, but sometimes due to terrain you may have significantly more losses. And Cerberus again. And again, that was actually not too bad, but still definitely non-zero losses. Okay, 1 staining, so Forest Wardens. Okay, that's one of the Drone Riders. I think that might be even the only Drone Rider matchup that is left here in rotation. And yeah, that's kind of about 20 a little bit percent losses. That's fairly representative. Yep, no counter units here for the Wardens. And yep, as soon as there are no stainlings, they do really well. Okay, 3 stainlings, that's definitely none of the above. That's the Banshee. Yep, pretty expected. Alright, so okay, 2 stainlings, mostly mages, so we'll go with Cerberus again. And yep, that didn't go that well. And Cerberus again. Well, that's actually unusually long streak of doing a lot of Cerberus. They're not the primary unit here, but hey, sometimes that's what happens. And back to Forest Wardens. Yep. And that's our Banshee matchup. Yep, 20%. So as you can see, we're kind of balancing between 3 more or less units. Forest Wardens, Cerberus, and Banshees, with infrequent sprinkling of the Drone Riders. And that's generally how this tournament goes for the way I play it. So yeah, that's the Banshee. Only 1 counter unit for them, so that's not too bad. But in the later, yeah, that's, yeah, again, that's this one of the sketchier matchups here. It's not too bad in 2 stars. Yeah, as you can see in this case, actually that went even better than usual. But in the later matchups, in the later stages of the tournament, this matchup is gonna have significant, well, noticeable losses. Alright, so where we're at 15. That's Banshee. No counter units there for them. That's Forest Warden, just one Staling. Two Stalings, then we go Cerberus. And of course take some losses. Okay, so there were, I think, 2 matchups with Drone Riders. Yeah, that's where we go Drone Riders, and again, that's one of the matchups then you will experience again, maybe not in 2 stars or not in all cases, but one of the, well, losses going to be on the highest side. That is not a great matchup. But in this case, that actually went reasonably well. One Staling, Wardens. Two Stalings, Cerberus. Not always, but in most cases. Okay, so it's one Staling, but only 3 stacks, so Cerberus again. Yeah, so far these are fairly acceptable losses, I mean, by just like eyeballing them. But of course things will get worse as you progress in stars. Alright. 17. Two Stalings, that's our Cerberus matchup. And here we don't have any Stalings, so Forest Wardens. And no Stalings, almost no losses. One Staling, Forest Wardens. And just 3 stacks with Staling, Cerberus. That actually went really well. I think strike back on the Cerberus also helps in this low stack encounters, because they have strike back 3. I think that makes a difference. Alright, so yeah, that's our second Drone Rider matchup. And yeah, that's kind of what you would expect from there. And Wardens were gonna do well here, yep. 3 Stalings or more, that's our Banshee setup. That went actually fairly well. So 19. Yep, that's another sketchy setup for Drone Riders. Yeah, still we're actually not doing terribly. I think we just were lucky, relatively speaking, with the terrain. While we certainly do have losses with the melee units, they could be worse. Again, it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. Then you have, geez, how did I lose like 30 to 40% encounter here? It does happen, not often. Alright, and that brings us, I believe, to province number 20. And okay, no country units. Wardens. Oh, that's excellent matchup for the Wardens. Finally, we're getting some Wardens groove here. And okay, that's the better one for drone riders, I think. Yeah, still, you see, like, that's what, 30%. Not unusual in this matchup, no. Unfortunately not. And there we go. Alright, so that's 20. Alright, so now let's take a look at our losses so far. And so what are we gonna get? Okay, so we've got a little bit less, well, let's just round it up, 28 squads for 2-star provinces 1 to 20. That's pretty much exactly what I expected given the previous tournament, so that's very representative number given the boosts and strategy that I utilized. And that's that. So I think you've seen most of the matchups that, well, probably all matchups that there are in the Magic Dust tournament. You saw sort of what we can do about them, and the losses for the 20 provinces and 2 stars. So as usual, I'll make a cut here, and then we'll make a separate segment with provinces 21 to 50, where you can see, well, more of the same matchups and see distribution of losses potentially for the same matchups, as well as to find out how many losses you can incur every 10 extra provinces you go past province number 20. So with that, if you like this, hit the like, subscribe, and let me know in a comment what else you would like to see. And with that, I hope I'll see you in the either 21 to 50 province video, or maybe in the next tournament tutorial. See you then.